purpose of this video is to give you some very basic instruction in using Apple numbers instead of Microsoft Excel to do your mathematical calculations. If you have not paid for Office 365, it's not going to be on your iPad. And if you want to do the work on the iPad, and you don't want to go through and buy Excel, you have built in the Apple equivalent, which is called Numbers. If you look on the bottom menu bar from my iPad, you'll see on the right side what the Numbers icon looks like. You can also see on this, and I'm making a circle of it now, is a little thing that represents my finger. And the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to tap on that icon. And when I open it up, either you're going to say plus spreadsheet, or it'll open up just like what you're seeing now. And it won't have anything in like my budget numbers program, or it won't have a recent thing in there, but you're going to select a template. And the template I want you to select is the one that shows blank. And if you tap on blank, which is what we're going to do now, it'll open up on your machine. And so what are you looking at? You're looking at a table. Now that table might have, depending on how you've used your iPad, it might have as few as 10 rows. This one has 22, but it might have as few as 10, and it might have as few as 3 or 4 columns. It doesn't matter. Depending on the amount of data that you have and that you're going to want to do calculations for, you can expand on the number of rows or the number of columns that you have on this little table. Because the table is going to be where we're going to do our actual mathematical calculations. Now, on the bottom left, where the little circle is now, you'll see an equal sign. Every time you tap on that equal sign, a line will be added to the table that you're looking at. Likewise, if you go on the upper right where the ball is now, and I'm not going to do it, and tap on that equal sign, it'll add another column to the worksheet. All we're talking about now is creating a basic table to do calculations. You'll notice that paintbrush where the ball is now. I'm going to tap on the paintbrush, and when I do that, I see another set of menus underneath it. Table, cell, format, and arrange. Right now, the table is the thing that's on the iPad, and that's what you're looking at. If you go down about a third of the way, it says rows and columns. I'm going to move over my little dot to there now. If I tap on the number of rows, let's say I'm showing 23, but I don't want to have 23. Maybe I only want to have 15. I change the 23 to 15, and when I tap on that, you'll see that the number of rows on the table changes. Maybe I don't want to have 7 columns. Maybe I only want to have 6. So I can change that number, and then when I tap on that, and the ball's telling me what I'm tapping on, you'll be able to see that the number of columns changes from what it was to 6. The other information that's there, we're not necessarily going to use. Those are ways that you can get more sophisticated and present sheets that look more professional. But remember, this is supposed to be a very basic educational process for you, which is just going to show you how to do basic math using numbers. It's especially important and a wonderful tool if you're in school or you're doing statistics problems or answering statistics questions at work. So from this perspective, we can stop what we're doing now and then get into an actual sample for you to look at. Okay, in the interest of time, I've opened up a table that I created earlier that I'm going to use for illustration purposes. In your case, you would hit the plus to create a new spreadsheet. You'd get a table open, and then you would go ahead and make the kind of entries that I'm going to be talking about. If you go to the row opposite the ball, and I highlight it, that row, and I go over to the paintbrush menu underneath that, about a third of the way down where it says text color. I tap the arrow next to the text color, I change it from gray to black, and the stuff that I previously entered opens up. Now if I go down that first column, do the same thing, I change the text color from gray to black, that stuff opens up also. Now I'm going to highlight all of the white cells where the writing is in white so you can't see it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to black also. So what do I got? Right now I have the basic of what's called a frequency table. Frequency table is super important if you're going to do any statistics work on your iPad or any of the calculations, whether they're manual or going to be automated. You're going to very much want to be able to quickly calculate a frequency table. Now I've highlighted the cell opposite total, now underneath total, and I want to start with step one is I want to total that first column. So I'm going to key in an equal sign, and a little bar opens along the bottom of the screen. You can see that when I do that, I'll click on that cell, say equal, that opens up, and I start typing the word sum. Why? Because I want to know what the sum is of all of the various frequencies in that first column. So I said sum, I select it, and it asks me for the value in that same row. Now I'm going to highlight all of the cells that I want Excel to add up for me. They're all highlighted. Once I think that they're all correct, I go down to where that green check is and I tap the green check. And it tells me that that first frequency column adds up to 535. Let's say that this is inventory of peanut butter. This is telling me I have an inventory in my supermarket of 535 jars of peanut butter, and it breaks down to the various brands as shown. Okay. Now we're ready to calculate the relative frequency, which is the second column next to the regular frequency. And the formula for us to do that is to divide each one of the frequencies by the total. Now, the easiest way to do that, not the most sophisticated, but the easiest way is simply to take a look at where the ball is, to key in an equal sign when the cell is highlighted. When I do that, the menu bar opens on the bottom and it has a place for you to say equals what. So I'm going to highlight the 69. I'm going to key in the divided by, which is the slash, and I'm going to key in the total, 535. Again, not the most sophisticated way to do this, but the simplest way. And when I'm happy with that, you'll see on the bottom the green check. I'm going to tap the green check, and it's going to give me this very long decimal. Now I want to do the same thing for each of the rows in this column, but I don't want to have to be in a position of typing the formula in over and over again. So I'm going to be lazy, and I hope you're going to be lazy also, because numbers makes it very easy to copy that formula down to all of the rows in that column. And the way that we're going to do that first is we're going to go where I've showed you with the ball, where there's a little lightning bar, and it says cell, and I'm going to tap on that. When I do that, what opens up is another menu, and you'll see highlighted in green, Autofill Cells. I'm going to select that. And when I do that, you'll see another menu opens, and it's showing me automatic being checked, meaning that Excel decided how to automatically put in this data. And we're going to say we don't want Excel to do this automatically, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to go down to where it says number, and we're going to tap on that. And alongside of number, you're going to see a circle with an I in it. We're going to tap on that. And then you're going to see, the ball will be opposite where it says decimals. And you're going to first change the decimals by hitting the plus key four times. Now what is that doing? That's showing me the answer to 4 decimal places. Maybe that's what I want. If I want 5, I would hit it again. When I'm happy that that's what I want, I'm now going to tap the bottom of the cell where those 2 lines are. And I said tap it. I'm really not going to tap it. I'm going to hold on to it and drag it all the way down opposite the 535. Now that I've done that, all of the cells are expressed to the 4 decimal places that I put in before. And that's what I wanted, so I'm happy with that. Now I could have gone ahead and copied it first and then changed all of the decimals at the same time, but I opted to do it this way, and I finished now the second column, and I'm ready to do the last 2 following that. We're now ready to do the cumulative frequency. And if you look, I have the ball positioned over the cumulative frequency column. Well, what is cumulative frequency? Well, cumulative frequency is what is going to give us the total as we move down the various rows of frequency. So the first one, the answer is simply going to equal the 69, which was the frequency of the Jif peanut butter. So when I put in equal and I highlight that cell, if you go down and you look at the bottom menu bar, it says frequency of Jif, and that's the whole thing. That's all we need. We're happy with that. We'll move that over to the green check. And we'll tap on the green check, and obviously just is showing us the 69. For the next row, we want to add the Peter Pan 12 ounce to the 69, the first row to the second row. So we're going to now say equal. We're going to highlight the 69. Very important to go up 1 and not to go across at this point. Plus, we're going to enter the plus next, the 62, which is the second item, the Peter Pan. When we're happy with that, again, we go over to the green check, and it gives us a total of 131. Continuing in the vein of we're going to be lazy when it's practical to do that, we want to be able to copy the formula that we've just created down to the rest of the rows. So we're going to now do that. We're going to go down on the lower right-hand side where the ball is now, where the lightning bolt in the cell is, and we're going to click on the cell, tap it with our finger as it were, and then say Autofill Cells, tap that. Now we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to grab it on the bottom and drag it all the way down. Now I stopped short of going to the total, and the reason that I did that is that when you're doing cumulative frequency and cumulative relative, you have to stop with the last row of data. You'll know if you've done it right if the last number in the cumulative frequency column, in this case is the 535, equals the total that you got when you did the total of the frequencies. So we know that we're right. And so now we're at the point where we want to calculate the cumulative relative frequency. And so we'll tap on that first cell, and we'll again key in our equal sign. We'll highlight the 69. We'll put in the divided by. Now, before I use the keyboard to use the / if you prefer, you underneath the menu bar, you'll see that you can find the divided by right in that row. You could select it that way if you prefer. And we're again going to enter the total, 535. And I will say again, there's a more sophisticated way to do that, but we'll come to that in a later video. When you're happy that that's what you want, you're going to click the green check. And again, you're going to get that big decimal. I'm going to do this a little different than I did it before. Now I'm going to go over to where it says cell. I'm going to tap on cell. It's going to say Autofill Cells. It's going to give me the surrounded thing, and I'm going to grab a hold of that like I did before, and I'm going to drag it all the way down opposite that 535. Now I got these decimals that are bigger than I want. Okay, fine. And I know that I'm right because the final cumulative relative frequency is going to equal 1, just like the relative frequency column, the last number equaled 1. I've accounted for everything properly. At this point, I could reformat the data. And how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to go in that first row where it says format, opposite where the ball is. I'm going to select format. Now, I can do this a couple of ways. Let me do it a little bit differently. The automatic is checked. Let me go to percentage. Now I've checked percentage, and I'm still showing way too many decimal places. Maybe for percentages, I only want to have 2 decimal places. So I'm going to click the circle with the I in it, and I'm going to change the decimals. I'm going to hit the plus key from no decimals to 1 decimal to 2 decimals. And so now I am showing 2 decimals, and I'm showing, instead of decimal equivalents, I'm showing percentages. Well, I might want to be consistent. Probably I do. I showed the relative frequency as a number. Maybe I want to actually show it as a number. So now I'm going to tap on the number row. It's going to show me the answer in 2 decimal places, and maybe to be consistent, I want to change that to 4. So it equals the same thing as my second column. So I'll do that, and you see it says 2 decimals in this row. I'll hit the plus key twice, and now I have the same data in 4 decimal places. What have I got now? I have a completed frequency table. A very important tool if you're going to be solving statistics problems on your iPad. And if you're going to be using numbers, it'll just be made that much easier. So I'm not going to go into, at this point, any additional information, because you really have enough to practice doing some of this mathematical stuff in numbers on your machine. And it's really a good idea to get familiar with how this stuff is going to work for you. And so we will move on. Okay, you've just watched the video that I put together on using number software to create a frequency distribution, which is an important component of stuff you're going to need to do if you're trying to get statistics works done on a spreadsheet and you're using your iPad Pro. Especially if you haven't paid for Microsoft Office 365, rather than go out and spending the money to do that, you can certainly use Apple Numbers, which is built into the iPad Pro software for you. And so I would strongly recommend that if nothing else, you get a little bit familiar with what it is you can do with Apple numbers. You might find, even if you have Microsoft Excel, that you like numbers better. One of the nice things about working in numbers, if in fact you have to use Excel at work or in school, you can always create a numbers file and then save the file in the Excel format so you can reopen it in Excel. On my website, which is located at ipadlearn.com, you'll see that there is a section growing on how to use numbers instead of Excel, even though I still have the Excel how-to videos that are there. Also below, if you're looking at the video in full screen, if you go to the bottom of the screen, you will find that there is a place for you to enter any comments or questions that you have about the video that you just saw, or about videos you'd like to see, because your information is going to help me to improve what I'm presenting. Any comments that you have would be appreciated. If you liked what you saw and you want to give me a thumbs up, fine. If you think that there's stuff that are missing from what I have presented, please tell me what it is, because I'd like to be able to improve what I'm presenting to you so you'll have better usage of what I'm giving you. If you thought the video really sucked and didn't help you to understand what you need to do with numbers at all, well, tell me that too. Give me a thumbs down and tell me what you thought the problem was, and I will do my best to get it corrected. And while you're at it, you'll see that there is a place on the bottom of the video where you can subscribe to my channel. If you do that, as soon as I post new videos on the site, you'll automatically get a copy of what they are. And hopefully that will be helpful to you. And all you need to do this is to click on the subscribe icon and the bell, and then you'll automatically be in the communication link to hear about new videos as I post them. And that's going to be probably several times a month situation that new videos will be posted for you. Thanks again for watching this, and I hope to see you again on another one of my videos.